It is Wednesday, my dudes, which means it is time for another first thoughts and initial impressions Epic 7 video. In this one, we'll be talking about Lionheart Cermia, the newest RGB 5-star, which is Peira. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. And at the tail end of the video, we'll be going in depth and talking about the newest Guardian Kazaran, as well as the exclusive equipments. If you've never watched any of my videos, I go super in depth and try to cover most things on any of the topics that I'm discussing. So I try and go super in depth, talk about the character stats. Do I think they're good? Where do I think the character will be used? What do I think about the skills? So on and so forth. There's a lot to cover in this video, so I'm going to just kick it off right away with Lionheart Cermia's introduction video.
Die on the battlefield or conquer the world. It's a 50-50 shot. Are you ready to bet it all on the gamble of a lifetime? A lion never relents, no matter how small its prey. I was born to be a hero. By my destiny, I will cut you down.
Right, so Lionheart Cermia is a light warrior. She is voiced in the English dub of Epic 7 by veteran VA Jeremy Lee, who you can hear as A2 in Nier Automata, as well as Makoto Nijima in Persona 5. She is also the last one to complete a cycle of Jeremy Lee voice acted characters in Epic 7. For red, we have Cermia. For blue, we have Cerise. For green, we have Lilibet. And dark, we had designer Lilibet. So now you can play a full team if you are just some kind of crazy nerd like I am. So let's talk now about her stat line, which is very indicative about how I feel about this character on the whole. She is very confusing. This character is either going to be really good or not super good at all, and like designer Lilibet, and just end up falling completely flat and need buffs. So that's the very short takeaway. If that's all you care about with this character, do you think that she's like super broken or any of that? I'll talk about the finer points now in a second. But yeah, this character, I'm going to roll for this character pretty much no matter what. So even if you don't, you watch this video and you don't end up wanting to roll for this character and you feel like it's not worth rolling for this character, I'm still going to roll for this character because this character is like one of my ride or die characters, by far my most used PvE hero. Was the character that I started the How to Play series with, despite her not being up on the banner and getting a lot of pushback from friends and family at the time for trying to do it. Like, this character is very, very important to me, so I will be rolling for her. But again, I do think this character is very conflicted. Honestly, a mess from a design standpoint. She's either going to be really good or really, really bad. So let's take a look at the stats. She has 966 attack, which is really bad for a 5-star warrior. 5,663 health, which is, again, really bad for a 5-star warrior. 112 speed, which is slightly better than average, but not fast enough. I feel like 114 or better is usually where you want a lot of characters if you can get it. I mean, I'll take 112 speed. It's not terrible, but it's definitely not the fastest either. 668 defense, which is high, but it's not as high as a lot of the other high defensive heroes or the other defensive scaling heroes for damage. So this is also questionable. 15% critical hit chance is also really bad because when you compare her to designer Lilibet and fighter Maya, the other two characters that are defense scaling, damage dealing heroes, they require a lot of critical hit chance just like this one, and we're basically in the same scenario where we either are going to struggle with our gear choices or we need a ton of imprints to make up for that. So hopefully if you are a Cermia fan and you do pick this character up, you probably are going to need slates and dupes. So if you're watching this on the day that I am revealing this video, the day that this video drops, Cermia is still up on the banner. If you really like this character and you really want this character, please roll for duplicates. You will need them, I feel like, to gear this character effectively. And then she has the base 150% critical hit damage, 5% dual attack chance, 0 effectiveness, and 30 effect resistance. And that effect resistance is a huge sticking point for me because it's really baffling. It doesn't really have any synergy at all in the kit. When I originally saw this character, I thought she was going to be the meme hero we always talk about where she does damage based on effect resistance. I thought that would have been super cool. But for some reason, she has high base ER and her kit really doesn't capitalize on it at all. And you'll see now as we move into it, With her S2 passive, it's far from over. She starts the fight with 40 fighting spirit. She is a fighting spirit character. After any ally suffers an extra attack, counter attack, or dual attack, she will dispel all debuffs inflicted on her and activate Shine. And after Mulligoras, it can activate every 2 turns, so basically every other turn. Shine emits a light, increasing her defense and effect resistance for 2 turns, as well as grants her 50 fighting spirit. Since she is a defensive scaling damage dealer, getting defense buff is actually great because it's survivability and also an attack buff in one. That's awesome. The ER is completely baffling, again, because this character's S2 functions similar to Designer Lilibet's, where the character's just going to snap out of debuffs constantly. So you don't want to waste stats on ER because the character already essentially deals with it. You don't have to deal with debuffs on the character, so why do I need ER? My best guess is that in testing, this character was originally designed to be a Bellion counter because Bellion has a lot of counterattacks and a lot of extra attacks. So they wanted a character that could punish her, but in testing, she kept removing the defense buff, and therefore it kind of put a damper on the character. It just made the character fall slightly flat. So they're like, oh, well, yeah, if we just give her this ER, it'll be fine. That's my best guess, because otherwise I have no idea whatsoever what this ER does. It doesn't help you against Violet, who's one of the prominent counterattacking characters. It doesn't do anything against Rem. She'll just, blow through it. She ignores ER entirely. So what is the purpose of the ER on this move? It doesn't make any sense. Like, it's a nice to have, but I rather would have had like anything else. I rather would have had any other statistic in the base stats than the effect resistance. It's so strange to me. So now let's move on and talk about her S3, which is I Am the Victor. From my initial glancing around on the internet, a lot of people seem to have missed this giant consume 80 fighting spirit in the top right hand corner here. This move is very similar to Red Robbie's S3 in that it has no cooldown. You can just keep using it as long as you have the necessary fighting spirit. You'll start with 40, activate Shine, go up to 90, and be able to use this immediately. And it is an AoE attack that grants an extra turn. So her S1's also going to give fighting spirit, so it allows you to set that up really easily. So the basic flow of how the character is going to work is, we're going to start the battle. Your opponent's going to be using the dual attack, the counter attack, because that's obviously what you're going to be bringing her against. You'll immediately jump up to 90 fighting spirit, use I Am the Victor, take the extra turn, use the S1, get the extra fighting spirit on that, and then the next time that you activate Shine, you will immediately be able to go into I Am the Victor. So this is a spammable AoE move akin to Red Robbie's S3. So that's already pretty good. It also penetrates the target's defense, so that's everybody because it's an AoE attack, by 50%. That's huge. I'll be releasing tomorrow how to play Remnant Violet. 50% defense pen, by the way, is nuts, and we talk about it in that video. So based on the multipliers for this move, this thing could really, really hurt. The damage here, obviously, again, dealt is increases proportional to caster's defense. It's still a bit early. I'm still a bit tongue-tied. This is like the defining thing on the character. If this multiplier is good on I Am the Victor, I think this character will be a meta pick. If this is not that good, because of how convoluted the stat line is, like how poor I think the stat line is and how weird the extra ER is on the S2, I don't think she will see any play. This move needs to hit hard because it's spammable, and I think that this is a character that's, again, designed to punish Bellion. Like, this is a character that really is there to punish that style of gameplay, and I hope I'm right. I hope that this move does do a lot of damage because, I really like Cermia, and I would love for her to be a meta character. So yeah, again, the jury is going to be out on this one. It's going to depend, again, entirely on the multipliers. At face value, it does seem very strong just because of 50% defense penetration. And then her last move to talk about here is her S1 skill, which is Can You Handle the Heat? You acquire 20 fighting spirit upon use. It is just a standard S1, but it does give her an increase to speed similar to Last Rider Krell for one turn when she uses it. Damage dealt increases proportional to the caster's defense again. Got it that time. We nailed it. We actually were able to speak correct English. The soul burn on it is you consume 10 souls for increased damage. that's a really bad soul burn. Like, it needs to hit like really hard, like really, really hard. Like, it needs to have like the glow up that like Assassin Kali's like murder has, where it's like, oh man, we like double the damage for it, for me to really feel pretty good about it. Because that's a pretty lackluster soul burn. So yeah, that's it. The character is really simplistic, similar to how Red Cermia is simplistic. Again, damage multipliers are going to determine everything because the stats are low and kind of a mess. And she just has components to the kit that don't really make any sense. Again, I'm going to pull for this character like 100%, no questions asked, because this is like my ride or die character. Was the very first character we did a how to play for, so on and so forth. Hopefully that gives you an idea of where I feel about the character. Honestly, we'll talk more about it in Remnant Violence video tomorrow, where I think your Mystic Metals should go. So look forward to that. So now let's talk about the newest RGB 5-star, which is Peira, and we'll start with her introduction video.
May you be punished by our rage. New rules are built on the blood of the preceding era.
Alright, so first thing I gotta say, this character design, along with Lionheart Cermia, is absolutely insane. I was so excited to talk about Cermia that I completely forgot to mention how insanely good her character design is. Both these characters are gorgeous. Like, Epic 7 is really knocking it out of the park with their art department. Their character designs are just insane now. I really, really like the way this character looks. As your bit of trivia, the English voice actress for Peira is Jeannie Tirado, who you can hear as Norman in The Promised Neverland, as well as Android 21 in Dragon Ball FighterZ and a number of other Dragon Ball related media. Moving on to her stats, she is an Ice Thief of the Virgo zodiac symbol. That is a unique stat line, I believe. She has a 1,075 attack, which is low for a thief. 5,562 health, which is actually pretty good for a thief. 128 speed, which puts her as the second fastest character in the game, behind Kazaran and Ron. Those are the first tier speed rank characters. She has 487 defense, which is terrible. Usually I want my thieves to have a bit higher defense because it allows you to have more build paths on the character, but whatever, we'll take what we can get. 15% critical hit chance, 150% critical hit damage, 5% dual attack chance, 18% effectiveness, and 0 effect resistance. So it's a nice character with really high speed and high base effectiveness. Here we go again. Or at least that's what I thought until I read the rest of the character's kit. And now I'm not really so sure. What I am sure about, though, is this is a character you're going to want to pick up, and you're going to want to pick up extra copies of the character for the imprint concentration, because with the high base effectiveness, the 27% effectiveness from the concentration, as well as, spoiler alert, the effectiveness from her artifact, you'll have pretty high starting effectiveness, and you don't really need to invest too much effectiveness into her, which is awesome because it allows you to invest in other stats, which I think are going to be way more important, and that should become apparent after we talk about her skills. So first, let's talk about her S2 Punishing Blade. You acquire 2 souls upon use, and it has a 5 to 6 turn cooldown depending on Malagora. It is an AoE attack that decreases buff durations by 1 turn, so essentially it goes through immunity buff, which at this point, what doesn't? And then it grants restrict and then unbuffable for 2 turns, and in that order. And they show you in the video that you will use this move and it will give restrict and unbuffable to Angel Light Angelica. She will cleanse the restrict since it came first, and then not get the skill nullifier because of unbuffable, which I think is kind of misleading because that's implying to you that this is like an Angel of Light counter when she really isn't, because you'll go first, you'll give the unbuffable, they won't get the skill nullifier, and then Angel of Light Angelica will still just unbuffable and silence your team, because there's nothing in this character's kit that stops Angel of Light Angelica from doing the broken things that make her good. So yeah, I don't really know what that one was about, why they showed that. It's like, hey guys, look, here's our character that is designed to counter the problem, according to the video, but that's not the case. Don't fall into that trap. There's nothing that this character does that stops Angel of Light Angelica, so keep that in mind. It also grants her an extra turn, which justifies the incredibly long cooldown on this move. Normally you would see like 4 turn cooldowns, but essentially this one's 5, but if you factor in the extra turn, it's really like it's 4. So yeah, really good opener. Obviously, it's another just really powerful opener for a fast blue unit with effectiveness. That said, I like this one because it's not really toxic. It's like Cerise, where it's like a strip with like something minor, like a slow, like that can be pretty debilitating end game ending. But it's not oppressive like a silence, or like, it's not, it doesn't create really swingy blowout games like Defense Break does. So we'll take it, right? It's fine. It's good enough, I think, to make the character see play with her base statistics plus this alone. It's enough to make you consider it as an option, especially if you're a cleaver, a summertime Cermia cleaver specifically. But then we get to the S3, which really opens up this character, and I think makes this character way more interesting than I originally gave it credit. It took some thinking, but I'll explain the logic. So it's Pack Hunt. You acquire 2 souls upon use, and it has a 4 to 5 turn cooldown depending on Malagora. She uses the power of the Goblet of Oath to increase the attack of all allies except for her for 2 turns, then grants her Stealth, Escort, which is a new buff, and Barrier for 3 turns. The barrier strength is proportional to her level. So let's break it down. Attack buff, we talk about in a lot of my videos, is being really necessary. It really decides a lot of games. If you have an attack buff and your opponent doesn't, your damage dealers are just going to be so much more impactful. You're going to win so many more games as a result. Stealth obviously makes it so that she's hard to hurt. Same with Barrier. Those are things that protect her, akin to how Cerise uses her S3 to get invincibility buff. So I really do like that. The big thing here is the Escort. Escort means that she takes 30% of the damage suffered by all allies, and it doesn't stack with other damage share passives, basically. This character basically has built-in Aureus. My first thought was this is an opener that is just going to give damage mitigation to aggro and cleave players, right? Like, I was like, oh no, you gave cleave another tool. Another thing that makes it harder for us to deal with them in this current meta, where they're already really strong, where aggro players are already really strong, and standard and turn 2 is not super good right now. But that's the wrong way to look at it. This character is just good in general for a lot of teams, because even standard players, somebody like me who is a standard turn 2 player, at higher ranks of play, you need a speed contester. You can't not have one. Like, you have to have one, because you're just relying too much on RNG, I feel like, at that point, if you don't have something that can contest them in any meaningful way. This character is a speed contester, but it's also a damage mitigation source, because right now, standard players will take Apocalypse Robbie first. I mean, who doesn't? Character is completely broken. But there are a lot of drafts where you only can take Fallen Cecilia as a damage mitigation source, or you can't take a damage mitigation source at all against specific types of compositions, because they put you into just bad spots, because that's just how the meta is right now as of the recording of this video. So standard players are not playing anywhere near as much damage mitigation as they used to in the past. It's like almost like since the whole meta has shifted to aggressive, we can't really draft mitigation consistently. This character allows you to contest, allows you to have a support option and an attack buffer that's mandatory, but also lets you have that damage mitigation source without actually losing tempo, without actually like conceding the draft phase, so to speak. And that is really powerful. When I started to think about it like that, I was like, holy crap, this character is so good. Like, this character is a definite pickup just from these 2 skills alone. And I really just think that if you are like a cleave player, obviously it's going to be good. But standard players, do not overlook this character either. Yeah, this character is just going to be good. Probably a meta-defining character just from these 2 skills. And that's what I'll say about that. So now we have to talk about her S1, which I think is also very interesting, is Woven Claw. She acquires 1 soul upon use like most S1s. It has a 30 to 40% chance to stun the target for 1 turn. And if the caster has a barrier, that is increased by initial 25%, so up to 65%. So it's another stun. So this character is fast, has protection, has a strip, and can stun. So it's going to be very akin to Cerise. A lot of people are already saying skip Cerise, pull this. I disagree, because Cerise is limited, and also Cerise has Guiding Light on her banner, which is super important for you to pick up. But this character does force the comparison with Cerise, which I really like, because now Cerise used to just be this like catch-all opener. Is like you had Ran, and then you had Cerise, and now we have Peira, and they all have very distinct paths now that they can go, where Ran is like very, very aggressive, Cerise is kind of somewhere in the middle, and then like Peira is more defensive, fallback, plan B. And like you have these very defined play styles, because Cerise has the guaranteed stun, whereas Peira does not. Cerise has the better dueling potential, whereas Peira does not. Cerise gives your team more damage in the form of more attacks. So some compositions, like especially ones that are relying on focus, want characters like Cerise more than they want characters like Peira. So there's like a distinct set of playstyles, a distinct set of drafts that differentiates those two characters. So I don't really feel like it's fair to compare Peira with Cerise. They are similar, but again, they force you into two very different styles of gameplay, I feel like. So yeah, that's again why I think this character is strong, because it has subtle differences that differentiate it from other similar characters. But there's no doubt that this character is on the same level as a character like Cerise in terms of opening. And so that's why I think, again, you should pick this character up. It most likely will be a meta hero. Whew. Oh, excuse me. So now let's talk about her artifact, which is Goblet of Oath. Obviously, it's a thief exclusive. It has a 15 to 30% effectiveness increase depending on level. I believe it is 22.5 at plus 15, so that's where it is going to be for most people. When you can factor that with the 18% base effectiveness on the character, you're looking at like 40 to 41% effectiveness base for this character. And again, if you have a bunch of imprints, that's looking like another 27%. So you're looking at, almost 70% on this character with just a plus 15 artifact, and obviously maxed out to the nines is going to be close to 80%. So 80% effectiveness gives you a pretty good chance to strip most things in the game except for cleansers, right? So because of escort and the fact that this gives effectiveness, I think you want to actually hyper invest in defense and health on this character as well as speed. You want this character to be tanky, to just absorb a ton of damage, and then on her turns you want to just have her try to strip things or stun things. So that's where I think this character just ends up being. I think you want this character to be like, speed, health, speed, defense, even like speed, immunity. It doesn't really matter. Like just something that gives you a lot of bulk. Like it wouldn't surprise me if speed, health was the best build on this actual character. Also, it has this really nifty thing on the artifact where if you use a non-attack skill, it decreases the skill cooldowns of your stuff by 1 turn. Basically, it's going to allow you to cycle faster. I think it is the best option on her, but there probably are other options you could consider. I do think that you should try and get one copy of this as well, because we just don't know the implications. There's not too many characters I think that can leverage this now, but if there's more support thieves in the future, ones that have more extra turns or more non-attack skills, this could get really good, really degenerate, and allow for a lot of really sick combos. So I do think you should pick this one up for sure. And finally, to round out the video, let us quickly take a look at the January 20th update patch notes, including this new Guardian here, Kazaran. I've already played his video before in previous videos, but we'll take a look at him now. So he is a Guardian that costs 40 souls, and it is Time Leap. It attacks all enemies by distorting time, dispelling 2 debuffs from all allies, and giving you an attack buff for 2 turns before increasing combat readiness by 30%. Damage dealt increases proportional to the total attack of the party and the max health, I believe, of the enemy. It's pretty hard to tell there from that description. This is actually a good Guardian. Like, Arky might be a bit better still because it's only 30 souls, and Arky's buff is essentially attack buff with a different name. So if you already have an attack buff on your team, Kazaran's bonus damage isn't going to help you. But having a cleanse, an attack buff so you don't need to bring one, as well as damage. Supposedly this character is probably going to do more damage than Arky, and he gives you a CR push. This is probably going to be the premier Guardian for Abyss going forward. I can see it's very close between whether or not this one is better than Arky, but this is a bit of a doozy. I think this one is just really strong. And honestly, it makes me start to wonder what they were thinking with the Xeon and Tom Cruise changes for the other Guardians, because I thought the point of buffing the Guardians was to give like options, and Kazaran just feels so all-in-one Swiss Army knife good that I feel like he's just going to be the one that everyone plays from now on, which I guess is fine because he is the coolest looking one, right? He has the coolest powers, so yeah, so be it. So now let's look at the 3 new exclusive equipments as well and give you my thoughts on those. It is Red Tenebria, Great Chief Kawana, and Melissa. So the first one up is Tenebria, which is this Shadow King plushie. It is a adorable Kayron keychain, basically. It gives 8 to 16 effectiveness, which is obviously good because she is a debuffer first and foremost. So I really like that. The first one is on her S1 Dark Explosion. It has a 75% chance to dispel one buff from the target when using it, and it's applied before she applies the sleep. This is probably, spoiler, the best exclusive equipment out of everything we've gotten because I don't know if you guys know, but Red Tenebria's S1 is like really broken. If it sleeps, she gets a massive, massive combat readiness push. And immunity kind of stuffs that. So having this EE that gets us around immunity in a lot of situations means that like tanky counter Tenebria that used to float around in season 1, season 2 might make a resurgence or a comeback in some small way. It can't be understated like how powerful a character with an S1 that can just go through immunity now and get a huge CR push is. Like, it can kind of function like a Sage Ball where it's like, we S1, we sleep you. Oh, we got a massive CR push. Oh, look, it's our turn again. We S1, we sleep you again. Oh, look, we get another CR push. So this really, really accelerates Tenebria's game plan, and I think this one is really, really strong overall. I don't know if it's going to be enough to push her back into the meta, because right now everything is so insanely high-powered, and you have characters like Mediator Coeric that just completely stuff control-style comps. But it's not a bad EE, right? It's a really strong one. So I like this one a lot. The next one is on her S3 Nightmare. It increases the sleep chance by 15%. I believe it was already 85, so now it's 100%. Yeah, I guess. Like, it's all right. And then the last one decreases the skill cooldown of Nightmare by 1 turn. If you play Red Tenebria as a off damage dealer for Blooming Snaglich, the third one is the one that you want for sure. S1 is probably the clear best one, but S3 has still got PvE applications. Don't really know if I would play the S2 one. So next up, let's talk about Melissa, which we did talk about Melissa in the Balance Patch preview previously when she got the buffs. And I talked about all the things that she needed as a character, things that she really wanted. And yeah, this EE gave us nothing. None of that. Lord's Coffin gives us 6 to 12% critical hit chance, which I guess helps her build path slightly. But I don't really like any of these modes, and I've talked to some of my guildmates that really like Melissa, and I feel like they are echoing the same thoughts that I have. So the first one is her S1 Might. Basically gets Lifesteal. This character's made of paper. Lifesteal doesn't do anything. In fact, I'm pretty sure she does more damage at lower health, so like, how does this doesn't do anything. It just literally does nothing. So the second one, Manifestation, that is her S2, I believe. The damage dealt is increased by 10%, which is nice because it does allow you to get those kills and those resets. So that's the closest to helping us out so far. And it's probably the one you're going to end up taking. And that's really sad that like a 10% damage increase is the winner, because you're usually hoping on EEs to open up new build possibilities or counter weaknesses in the character, and this doesn't really do that. And then the last one is also on the S2. When an enemy is defeated by Manifestation, increases the attack of all allies except for the caster for 1 turn. This is supposed to be a self-sufficient assassin. Like, I don't need to give attack buff to the rest of my team. Like, I just don't know how that helps. Like, it doesn't feel like it synergizes at all with how this character is played, how people want to play this character. So yeah, I think it's a total dud. I think the S2 is the only real good one. At least you got critical hit chance, which helps your build path. So it's something, but it's still not enough, I think, to make Melissa good. And then lastly, we have Great Chief Kawana. It gives a 7 to 14% attack, which I guess is all right, because the biggest problem that this character has is that the only place she's used in, Katie's, she takes too long to ramp up to be actually useful, and she doesn't facilitate any one-shots. So we're probably going to be judging these EEs pretty harshly, because I don't think any of them really help there. So the first one is on Vertical Cut. I believe that is her S1. It increases her damage by 10%. Still not enough to facilitate a one-shot or facilitate a timely clear. So yeah, that doesn't do anything. Next one is on Motivation. That is her S2 passive. When an ally is attacked by a dual attack, increases the combat radius of the character by 15%. Can only be activated once per skill. Why is it only once per skill? Like, this would actually help you in Katie's, because you could get at least a consistent, like a more consistent clear, because the Katie's moms dual attack all the time. So you would be taking quite a number of turns, which would definitely help you ramp up really quickly. But instead, they decided to just, like, you know, half-ass it, so to speak, and just, limit it, restrict it, and that hurts this character overall. Like, it's not the best. And then the S3, Great Chief's Devotion, you get a barrier proportional to 20%. That doesn't do anything. So the winner is probably the S2, and that sucks because, like, it could have been so much better. Like, this character just still continues to flounder and just be almost irrelevant, even in the one thing that she's designed to do. So yeah, this doesn't help either. Overall, pretty disappointing set of exclusive equipments, but I think it makes up for it with some pretty exciting character reveals. For the banners that are coming out, obviously, get Cerise. She is a limited unit. Always pick up every limited unit. And then Guiding Light is a limited artifact and a must for a lot of Rangers in high-end PvP, so definitely pick this one up as well. Charles, you could probably skip this one. He's not really super great right now. His only place he's being played is Hall of Trials as a meme composition character, and even then you need plus 15 for him to be like really, really good. So yeah, Charles is a skip unless you just want Closer Charles. Imprints. Justice for All is literally only really good on Clury, who is okay in the meta right now, but not super amazing overall. So yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on the rest of the patch. There is some like other stuff here, some changes with Alchemist Steeple, and also with the recruitment to Expedition. But the video is already running kind of long. They're fine changes for the most part. As always, enjoy the rest of your day. I'll catch you all tomorrow in How to Play Remnant Violet. Have a good one now. Later.